this place. It's these people governing this place. No one else is telling us what to do. It's us doing it. So that's a huge factor. The fact that they're Creole, they're kind of like Goldilocks. They're like, right in that sweet little, that middle ground where they get the access to the education that they need, but they also have legitimacy they get a lot of slaves to sign up for their military campaign and to get the training they need to conduct this war. So being in that middle class is critical, So in 1822, San Martin had liberated Chile, Bolivar had liberated Venezuela and New Granada. San Martin and Bolivar had this mutual goal to liberate Peru. So by then, they moved to secure the independence of Peru from Spanish control. San Martin was traveling from the south and Bolivar from the east, and they met in what is now Ecuador. So they literally had a face-to-face meeting known as the Guayaquil Conference. The result of this conference is that San Martin basically, very humbly, lays down his command or his leadership role in the revolution, and he says, Bolivar, I will serve you. Like, I'll be your second in command. We need singular leadership with one person running the show. So Bolivar basically steps into that role. San Martin becomes a very important person in this overall movement. He started it in the South, let's remember. Like, he was an accomplished general in his own right. But now it's basically Bolivar's show. Bolivar would then go on to liberate Peru in 1821, and then 4 years later, he would also liberate Bolivia. So again, literally just conquering all of South America piecemeal. He's very successful at what he does. He's very, very successful. Now, we don't know exactly what they said to each other, but we know that San Martin ceded leadership. He gave up leadership of the independence struggle in Peru to Bolivar. We don't know exactly what they said to each other. San Martin was quite humble. He put himself second to the greater goal of independence. He said, I don't care that I'm not going to be the leader. I don't care that everyone's going to remember Bolivar and not remember San Martin. I don't care about that. What I care about is independence. That's what's really important. Bolivar also had a better army than he did. So that was also probably a factor as well. Bolivar led the united armies to liberate Peru and then Bolivia. Bolivia itself, as you might imagine, is named after Bolivar. In 1824, the independence movement had won control of all of Spain's colonies in South America. They decided, and I think this is a mistake. Okay, this is the one mistake Bolivar makes politically. Instead of what they should have done is unite all of these colonies together. Okay, so one country, all of them united together. They don't have a crystal ball. They can't see the future. What Bolivar is basically betting on is that America will leave us alone, that the United States is not going to be intervening in South America and replacing the European colonies or replacing the European imperial presence. He's betting that because we just did a revolution against a colonial power in the British. So why would we become the new colonial power? That'd be paradoxical. That wouldn't make any sense. Instead of then uniting, this was a discussion, should we have a United States of South America? Like, Bolivar could have done that. And in retrospect, hindsight's 2020, he should have, because instead of doing that, they allow for a lot of these other, they allow there to be a Peru, they allow there to be a Bolivia, and all of these different independent states, instead of unifying them together, that allows them to be dominated politically, militarily, and economically by America in the century that really to the present day, almost. America has an enormous influence in South America. That is to say, the United States of America has an enormous influence in South America. And they would have been more able to perhaps resist that domination if they were united together. So the six countries that are formed are Gran Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and the United Provinces of Rio de la Plata and Patagonia. By 1831, Patagonia and the United Provinces became Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. Gran Colombia broke apart between just plain old Colombia. Grand means big, so big Colombia. But they said, no, big, we don't want Grand Colombia. So they break it up, and they have Colombia, and then also Ecuador and Venezuela. So Gran Colombia used to be Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador put together, and they split it apart. Again, they at the time, I get why he does this. This is an independence movement. Like, he didn't want to be the dictator of South America. He wanted independence for the people who lived there. So he wins them independence and then basically gives it away. He's like, okay, independence, and then I'm gonna go back to, back to being Venezuelan. Like, there'll be independent. There'll be all these independent states. This is an artist depiction of the Guayaquil Conference, showing Martin and Bolivar meeting. They probably didn't meet outside, but that's okay. Okay, so what factors led to Peru being liberated by Bolivar instead of San Martin? There were two. Did anyone catch what I said? Why did Bolivar liberate Peru and not San Martin? A, B, C, or D? There are actually two answers here. Like, Martin could have said, no, I'm not going to help. So one of them is A, and the other is D. Bolivar was not opposed by the other revolutionaries like Martin. Martin said, I care more about independence than my own, recognition, my own honor, my own glory. And then D, Bolivar's army is just better equipped. They have better stuff. They had captured a lot of cannon and rifles and things like that from the Spanish, and when they took it over, there just was a lot more Spanish military stuff to be taken, to be conquered. So that's why Bolivar's army is better equipped. Basically, just good luck. This is what the independent nations of Latin America looked like in 1830. It looks very, very different, all right? No longer is there a Spanish presence in all of these places. Spain is done. Spain is cooked. Spain is reduced basically to Puerto Rico and Cuba. And there's other ones too, but these are the big two, the last two sort of major colonies left to the Spanish, Cuba and Puerto Rico. That's a pretty big L, right? Like, you're looking at the rest of South America. This all used to be Spanish territory, and now it's independent. That is pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable. Yes, Sarter, I'm glad you noticed that. Yes, even though Mexico achieves independence in 1821, there you are. When they achieved that independence, California, Texas, Colorado, Wyoming, like Oregon, all these places, they're all part of Mexico. In fact, they were part of Mexico, they were Spanish speaking, longer than they've been part of the United States. So yes, don't worry though. They're going to be part of Mexico, but not for very long, because America's going to go, hey, I bet you we could take the Mexican army and destroy it and take like all these new places. So America launches a war just for fun, just basically chops off the entire top of Mexico as a result of the Mexican-American War. That one in particular, like, that is just unbelievable. We basically just start a war with Mexico because we want to steal their land. Like, it's that obvious. Like, there's no other reason. It's just like, let's just go conquer the place. Like, it should be ours. Why not? Let's do it. But yeah, that's why like all the major cities and towns in California are Spanish names. They are either Spanish or for about 20, 30 years, they were part of Mexico. Good observation there, Sarter. So newly independent South American states faced economic, social, and political problems, to say the least. As nations become independent, most of them form republics with constitutions. But leaders put those constitutions aside when problems arose. During the first half century of independence, caudillos, or military dictators, frequently overthrew governments and ruled by force in South America. These are the caudillos. So a lot of times, like, there are coups, there's overthrowing of the elected government. They have republics, they have constitutions, they have independence, but they don't necessarily have a democracy, okay? Don't worry, America will totally let them have democracy, though. Just kidding. So, there were lots of difficulties. Political conflicts caused unstable governments, certainly. Social division and slavery continued to exist. Spain attempted to reestablish control of the governments. Many foreign powers were able to buy up industries and control the economy. Well, what explains why they had so many difficulties? It is really these three things. Spain never attempts to reestablish control of the colonies. They don't have the resources. They just can't do it. They're having a hard enough time holding on to Cuba in the Spanish-American War, let alone the rest of, Latin America. All these colonies are gone, okay? They do have political conflicts in the new governments that cause them to be unstable. They certainly continue to have social division. A lot of the times, even to this day in South America, a lot of the elected leaders of a lot of these countries are more white. There are more indigenous folks, more native people with sort of stronger native heritage that live in a lot of places in isolated communities in, like, the Amazon. In Bolivia in particular, this was a huge political problem. They were not really represented in the government because the government was very corrupt, and it was run by a lot of these, like, sort of kind of white white South Americans who, set up a system where the indigenous population is disadvantaged, and it's set up for the benefit of the white South Americans. In addition to this, here's a major problem. Okay, this is the real problem why South America has chaos in the decades that follow. Many foreign powers, I would even just say one foreign power, just one, are able to buy up industries and control the economy. My friends, that is the story of American domination in South America.